Good afternoon from Tokyo. I'm making a video today because somehow in my algorithm I receive a bunch of videos about why people will never return to the United States and stuff like that. Can you turn the AC? Can you shut the AC? And I wasn't planning on making a video similar to that. But there's just some like recent things happened that really made those videos hit home. I'm recovering from an illness, and so I look ill. So we're just gonna look at what I see. I spend a lot of time out here on this balcony and mostly look at that beach there. But sometimes I'll stare at that monkey head shaped mountain, Kautakyab. So as I'm watching these videos, I mean, it really resonated with me because I felt that way for quite a long time. There's no revelation. But I wasn't going to make a video because it's one of those things where either you see it or you don't. And I don't want to argue with patriots, man. You know, there's a lot of people live well in the United States. And for them, it's a different place than what I'm going to describe. I'll pre-qualify it as well. I used to be a flag waving patriot for many, many years. Served in the United States Army as an infantry NCO. Served in several different theaters of combat. And, you know, gave more than the average American, I think, to this country. I know a lot of you guys are veterans out there. A lot of people might stumble onto this. You're a veteran. I'm not talking about you, man. Especially if you're combat arms. But most Americans don't serve, man. It's only like 1 or 2%, something like that. Some small percentage. So I feel like I gave a lot to the country, and you know, I squeezed that lemon for a little bit of juice. That's okay. But the price was too high. I'd rather have take it all back and have not done it. So save the emails if you call me a traitor or you're trying to question my patriotism, because I was a bigger patriot than most. I'm not going to get into more details than that. I gave up a lot to serve. These videos, they usually focus on things like healthcare, cost of living, attitude of people, work culture, these type of things, crime even. And so as I watched these, I started having this week, as I was sick, I started taking care of some business in the United States, whatever. And I started to encounter these problems that are relative to these videos of why, you know, the United States suck. That's not really what they're entitled, but that's the connotation of most of them. Let's start with healthcare. I'm not particularly going to get into my experiences. Part of the juice I squeezed from my service is healthcare. It's been all right. You know, I had to manage it myself. If you're not managing your own healthcare, you're putting it in someone else's hands. Beware. But, you know, I did all right, but mostly under my management. And I was spared a lot of the expense that most people had to suffer. My son was over here with me for a little while. He returned to the United States. He's living in Atlanta, Georgia right now. Shout out to Stefanos. Great kid, I miss him. And he's got an issue with his jaw where it's misaligned and it causes headaches and just really erodes at his quality of life. It's not life-threatening, but neither is a broken arm, right? And it just really erodes his quality of life. So I tell him, man, he's very young, so his financial resources are small. He doesn't have health insurance, and he's not considered a dependent of mine, so it'd be pretty expensive buying it through me. If I could, I don't know how that works. I don't think so. So he goes to the dentist to get the orthodontist, I don't know, some kind of specialist with the mouth jaw, right? Probably orthodontist, periodontist, some shit. So the guy comes up with a treatment plan, and it wasn't really, I didn't think it was a bad price. Anybody in any other country would be shocked that it costs anything, but because it's not really cosmetic dental work. It's a procedure to stop him from having headaches and to align his jaw correctly, right? So it's not really cosmetic. Definitely a quality of life thing. And he's young, so all his tax-paying years are ahead of him. That's just the thing with the United States. They can't even figure out to take care of their future taxpayers. You want to keep them healthy, right? He's got a good 30 years of paying taxes in front of him, 30, 40 years of taxes. But you don't want to make sure he's healthy so he can pay? Ridiculous. So anyway, it was an out-of-pocket expense, and it was a little high for me, so the dentist offered a financing thing through some financing company. It turned out to be a bunch of bullshit. Make a long story short, the guy wants all the money up front for a procedure that's going to span out over 6 months. I did a lot of things in life. I worked in the trades. And I mention that because we will take on a project where we give a total cost. But there's never a point where someone's going to give us the entire amount of money before we've lifted a finger to do any of the work. You usually do something that we refer to as progress payments. Do a little bit of work, the person can see that you've done something, they can see that you purchased materials, and then they pay you. I know this guy wants all the money up front. For why not 1/6 each month that you go, well, I've completed 1/6 of the project, I've completed 1/6. He wants all the money up front. Fucking greedy. Calls himself a doctor. Probably tells people he chose the profession to help people. That's probably what he says. The only way he's able to do something like that is because people capitulate, and they'll actually do that. They'll actually be like, okay, and pay this person all up front. There's no reason for them to act like that. That is pure greed, man. How about you come to the appointment, I do the work, at the end of that, then you pay me 1/6 because there's still 5 portions left. What the fuck? That's just one example. It's not life-threatening, and it's a petty example. I could give some more personal examples of some experiences where a healthcare system almost killed me. But that's not what the video is about. And I don't really want to share that stuff. The American healthcare system is good in one area, and that is acute care, emergency care, for those of you that don't read. Emergency care is the best in the world. They handle trauma like nowhere else. But there's a dirty secret as to why. They have more experience than anyone else with gunshot wounds, with stabbings, etc., overdose. A lot of surgeons go to war theater so they can get 10 years of trauma experience in one year. So if we weren't a warring nation, we wouldn't have such good acute care. If we weren't trying to kill each other all the time, and there weren't so many people being shot every day, doctors wouldn't be that good at it because it would be something that they don't see very often. So okay, we're good at acute care, but I'd rather we weren't, if that's the reason why. So those are just some small points, but the fact of the matter is, people die because they can't afford their care. They can't afford the recommended treatment. Recently there was a CEO that was offed. I don't know if it was in New York City or whatever, but everybody was like, "Yeah, that's good." Well, that's not the solution, man. You need to figure out how it got this way, and then demand as a people to fix it. Take 5 minutes and write your damn congressman. Go by the damn office. Do your little protest. You do your little rainbow protest, right? That's important enough for you to get your ass out of the chair. But people dying because they're poor. To some extent, yeah, that might be true everywhere. But other developed countries, don't start comparing us with Africa or even Southeast Asia, where the healthcare is actually pretty good here. I don't know what it's like for the average working time. I don't. My girlfriend, I don't know. She don't use the doctor really, but I think it's available to her. I don't know. We use private care together. But a comparable country with GDP, education levels, etc., a country like Norway, nobody would ever die because they didn't have the appropriate amount of funds on hand to satisfy a doctor's greed. So your healthcare sucks, man. And you better fix it because everybody's getting older. There's fewer kids. There's going to be less people working. There's apparently a shortage of doctors. I know that from trying to make an appointment in the United States. And so it's only going to get worse. So you guys need to take a long, hard look. And that's going to tie into my last point, which is the mentality, the lack of compassion that Americans have for one another. But that's going to be my last point. So that's an issue I'm having now. I got some mafioso doctor thinks I'm supposed to pay him all up front before he's done anything for us. We'll figure it out. We'll get it done. I'll steal his treatment plan blueprint, and we'll go find somebody with a little more compassion. But I'm not gonna fucking pay it. Anybody who does business, any kind of business, nefarious or otherwise, your risk of getting ripped off or being unhappy rises exponentially when you've already paid for a product or a service that you haven't received, because the other party's already satisfied. It's just fucking bad business, man. And the fact that Americans are doing it so regularly, that is common practice in this trade, y'all are fucking stupid, man. Just please, man. You make me cry over here, man, how stupid you are. I watch videos of y'all complaining about how much a latte costs at Starbucks or how much the beer at the ball game is. But guess what, man? You got the beer in your hand while you're making a video complaining to me about how much it costs. It cost that price because you paid it, bro. That's why. If nobody bought any beer, they would have an emergency meeting and decide to lower the price. I thought everybody knew that. The second one is immigration. I'm not talking about we need to build a wall and put alligators in a moat. That's not the conversation I'm having. The conversation I'm having is I'm an immigrant. Well, actually, I was a naturalized citizen because of my father. So I was considered a citizen, born abroad, had dual citizenship, Greece and the United States. But I wasn't born in the United States. And the older I get, the less I feel that I identify with the United States either. But immigration is tough, man. My mom had to immigrate. She was married to an American service member. My dad was in the Air Force at that time. That doesn't count for anything. And she had to go through this lengthy, expensive immigration process to return to the United States with her husband and her American child. Now you see where I'm going with this. The rules only impede those who follow them, right? And that applies to all of your issues there. So I've been dating the same woman for about a year here. So I guess it's serious. And I say to myself, I want to bring her back to the United States. And when we get back there, we'll have, maybe we'll get married. And not to live, mind you, but so that she can get her paperwork, she can get a social security number, green card. So I can go ahead and squeeze a little more juice out of the lemon that I purchased. Okay? Because I'm already getting ahead of the comments, man. I earned it, man. No one could tell me otherwise. And I earned a little more, too. And if a person is someone that's going to be my wife, then I expect the same juice, man. Right? Well, that's not how it works. How it works is I got to pay a shitload of money, go through a 5-6 step process, background checks, medical examination, financial evaluation. This whole process, they say, quick turnaround, and be like 12 months. Last time I checked, I thought people were just freely coming and going into the country as they pleased. I can make a little spreadsheet, come up with the expenses and the time frame, and I already know without making the spreadsheet that the cheaper option would be to fly to Mexico, pay a coyote $1,000 in Tijuana to bring her into California. Take her ass down to the processing center and drop her off there by herself. She'll come out with a cell phone, place to live, food vouchers, right? Medical exam, yeah? As Americans, do you see anything wrong with that picture? And that's it, like I said, I'm just keeping it on a personal level. But as a nation, there's a lot of smart people that are educated in Europe, man, that want to come and contribute to the United States, bro. Doctors, lawyers, scientists. We bust their balls, but sometimes to the point where they're just like, you know what, man, fuck y'all, man, I'm going to Sweden. I'm going to Denmark, man. They offer me more money and no hassle. And with the healthcare and the immigration, it seems like you had this selective compassion, man. Like you don't care about the guy sleeping under the bridge who needs healthcare, or some impoverished young person that can't pay for his healthcare. Y'all don't seem to give a fuck about that. You just complain about your premiums and what you had to pay and what you had to. You don't care about that next guy, right? But you have all this compassionate shit for somebody that crawled across the desert, man, and snuck into your country and is not willing to do the correct paperwork, can't identify who they are. You're cool with that, though, right? You have compassion for that. If I want to talk about that, you tell me I'm cruel and I'm racist, which is just ridiculous, man. I hate what's become of that term. That used to mean something once upon a time, y'all. You effectively turned it into nothing. It's like calling someone stupid. I'm American citizen, veteran, injured in combat, operated businesses in the United States, paid ungodly sums of taxes in the United States, worked for the government for many years after the Army, paid more taxes. I did my part, man. At what point, can I say that I had some benefits or rights? Quit your whining and all that. So all I'm asking is, I want to marry someone, man, and I want to do it in my country, in my church of choice. Why can't we go do that, man? Why I gotta wait a year and pay all these people all kinds of fucking money and blah blah blah? The answer is right there. Because everybody gets some money. But the other people that don't want to do it right, you have all kind of compassion for them, right? You're confused, man. You confused people. We need all the immigrants, man. Because y'all aren't having babies and all that shit. I'm not against immigration. I want more immigration. But the United States is the only country that brings people. They have no idea who the fuck they are. There's no control. There's nothing. They walk up and say, one of my gigs was in the prison system. And people were actually incarcerated. Illegals were incarcerated. And we just went, we went by the name that they said. There was no birth certificate. There was no national ID card. There was not. The dude said he was this. That's who he is. Do people know that? I've done so many jobs. I've worked for Social Security Administration. They contract out with the states to do disability claims. So I was a disability examiner. It's a long story. It's not for this video. I started gaining a lot of medical knowledge, and I started to apply that, and eventually I became a disability examiner for the United States government. One day, they came to my desk and threw some folders down, and I pulled up the case numbers, and then I went to associate the way that we do. I'm not even getting, it's not what the video is about. These cats had no social security numbers. We were processing disability claims for them. You know what that means, Americans? You're giving out your disability and social security retirement money to people that haven't put in. Now, I don't know if you understand how a Ponzi scheme works, but when the contribution at the bottom stops, then there's no money to trickle down. So if you're giving out money to people that haven't started on the bottom and contributed money, the whole thing collapses because there's no foundation. I also thought everyone fucking knew this too. I'm not saying we shouldn't have something for people in the United States when they're disabled, even if they didn't contribute or they didn't earn enough. That's not what I'm saying. But we should probably reserve that for our citizens. And very special cases. Not incentivize healthcare and immigration. Attitude, mentality, the importance of money, the metrics of success in the United States are unique. There's not very few places that subscribe to that ideology. One great example of that is the United States is the only place in the world where you will ask a person who is a complete stranger to you that you've just met what they do for a living. Because we all know what the connotation is to that, right? Do I have to run through it? You're not curious. That's not what it is. You're not networking. You're judging the person. Because we all have in our mind what salary brackets are for certain occupations. And once the person tells it, our brain automatically goes to that salary bracket. And now we've assigned a dollar value to that human being. United States is the only place where people had the balls to fucking ask a stranger that question. And we all pretend like we don't understand what they're really asking. Why not just ask me, man? What's my income? How much money? Am I well off? How much money do you got, buddy? Well, just fucking be straight about it, man. So that's a fucked up mentality, man. Part of that work mentality and the metrics of success. The stuff that you have, right? All of us aren't wrapped. I got a lot of good friends, man. They're from the United States. They don't subscribe to that shit. But I'm talking about you as a peoples. I have some personal examples of that, man. Back in I don't know what it was, 2010, 2009, 8, I don't know, many years ago. And I was living in the Midwest. I tried dating a little bit. At the time, I was driving a minivan. And just to make a long story short, man, there was 2 women that was going to pick up for a date that would not get into my minivan. Now, anecdotally, the minivan was one of the best cars I ever had, man. That shit was awesome. You could take the seats out, turn it into a truck. I could haul shit. I could carry my whole family, kids, everybody. We're all going in one car. Yeah, it was awesome. Minivan was fantastic, man. It's a great thing. But I was looked down upon because I drove a minivan. She wouldn't get in, you know. And you say, well, you just picked the wrong girl. But really, you know, really? Really, man? So your mentality's all wrong, man. Your focus is all wrong. New generation's just point blank not having children. But the generation before that, it's just ignoring their children. What, your children's a pain in the ass, a burden. You're letting some strange person for $10 an hour raise your child, and then you wonder what the fuck's wrong after 10, 15 years? Got no sense of traditionalism, no sense of every year on this day. You know, some families do. Listen, man, I know that. Save your comments, man. I get that, man. There's exceptions to everything, but there's also commonalities. And this is about the commonalities of the culture. You take something like Memorial Day, man, there's a few parades and shit, but for the most part, it's a day off when people barbecue and drink too much beer. They don't really do a whole lot of respecting or putting a lot of thought into it. There's organized parades. Yeah, there's some shit, man. You know, get a discount here and there. But as a nation, man, we never really. And it's a sad statement that I feel like we have to, but we're such a warring people, man. It's one of your biggest exports, America. War. You realize that? So with that mentality comes a lack of compassion, right? You got the crab pit at the bottom, where when people from challenged backgrounds try to rise above their background, all the other crabs in the bucket, man, they're going to be grabbing at them, trying to pull them back into the bucket. So that's what's at the bottom. At the top, you have this incredible fucking greed. And at all phases in between, Americans are exceptional at trying to exert authority over other Americans, or anyone for that matter. I can't tell you how many times total strangers had tried to tell me what to do, man, or try to correct what I was doing as an adult. And then when they're not satisfied with that, when they realize they can't impose their will on you, they will call the police. And I'm not talking about committing a crime. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just petty shit, bro. Petty stuff, bro. Yeah. You don't believe me, man? Turn your phone on and walk into a library while you're recording. Yeah. You don't believe me, man? Go take pictures of your police station. And that mentality, it bleeds through to the police, man, you know? That's where you're just an authoritarian culture. As soon as you're empowered, most Americans act exactly like the police. Don't forget, 90% of the time the police are called by a citizen on the other citizen. They just don't show up, man. They're always after the fact, but I mean, they just don't show up most of the time, man. It's another American who first tried to exert their will on you, and then when they got frustrated enough, they called the police. Or some just go straight to the police. They go straight to call their henchmen. It's not personal, so save your comments on that. I've had some experiences, but just these are observations. And so you're an authoritarian culture where you're not free. You talk about being free or brave. You got cops hiding behind trees. Anytime that you're driving, your rights can be suspended at any pullover. But y'all capitulate, saying, "Oh, I support the police. I cooperate with them." You give over your ID. You get out of the car. You let them search your car. You do everything they ask you to. Violate every right, every amendment. And so when they encounter someone that's like, that's not really in accordance with the Fourth Amendment, they totally freak out. They don't know what to fucking do. And then you got the majority of y'all talking about, yeah, man, he should have did what the cops told him to do. So you're not free. You're not free. You're not free to speak. If you said something at work like, Bob's not a woman, and I'm not going to call him Betty, what do you think would happen, most of y'all, if you did that at your workplace? So you're not free to speak, even if it's true. You're not free to travel. That can be interrupted at any moment, just out of nowhere. Somebody could, they fucking roll out from behind bushes. They're hiding to get you. Is that protecting and serving? And it all leads to a lack of compassion, man, where you look at your fellow human beings and you judge them and you judge what they do for a living and how much stuff they have and how much money you make. And it turns out you divide yourself into the tiniest fucking segments, man. If you could only be the half black, half Puerto Rican, midget, one-legged lesbian, man, if you could only. And you divide yourselves into these ridiculous tiny little groups. And then conglomerate into larger groups and call yourself left and right, and then calling two choices having a democracy. Right? Telling me I can have a glass of cold milk or a glass of warm milk. That's my choices. Like this election, man. What if I don't like Trump? What if I don't like Harris? The fuck is two choices? You're a country of what, 300 fucking million people? I don't know. It's this massive fucking unit of people, man. Y'all can't figure out a better system? Two choices to decide how the country goes? Do you know in Greece they have a parliament, man? There's like 10 parties at the table. You could find within those 10 parties someone who matches your ideologies, someone who's representing you. And yes, they're based on a percentage of the vote is how much say they get, but they're at the fucking table. They're at the table. They can pose questions. They can challenge shit. Almost every other free country, they're on some kind of parliamentary system so that they can represent all the peoples satisfactorily. Two choices is not enough, man. If you only had two things on the menu, how long could you go like that when it came to your diet or anything else? What is wrong with y'all? And lastly, the compassion. Again, the compassion. I told you my veterans experience in the beginning. I'm nothing special, man. A lot of dudes gave much more, so gave all, right? Whatever. I'm not going to do the stupid cliches. But many people, I came out all right, man. I'm doing all right, man. All things fucking considered. So there's no complaints, man. I just wouldn't do it again, is what I'm saying. But I came back from having gave what I just explained to you, and you don't know the hidden, the shit that all deployed veterans have to go through. Didn't get to see my son learn how to walk. Wasn't there for my daughter's birthday. Wasn't there for her school recital. Wasn't there on Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Wasn't there when they were scared. Wasn't there when they were going through rough times. You're just not fucking there, bro. Because you're a slave to the government. Your family does it. Man, I tried complaining about my family situation to some of my superiors, and they were good warriors, man. I don't have no beef with you cats, man, if you ever run across this shit. I got different kind of beefs, but that's internal shit, internal military politics, man. If we ever get one-on-one, I'll let you know, man. I'm not gonna call anybody out like that. But I kind of felt like I didn't feel special, man, but I finally felt like, okay, now I did these dirty deeds for these people, and now I'm coming back amongst them, and, I'm going to speak freely. Only to find out all that sacrifice was just, shut up and sit down. Yeah, man. I hope you all wake up in America.